Hi everyone, I'm with Claire Gamble today.
Hi.
Hi. Claire is, do you want to tell us a bit more about yourself? So we're going to chat about careers and business and working women doing awesome things today. So
Yeah.
do you want to take us all the way back to the beginning, because you've obviously pivoted across several different industries and you now work for yourself, so...
So at the moment I'm the Managing Director of Unhooked Communications, which is a new PR marketing content agency in Manchester. And so how I got here to this stage of my career, so went to university, studied English literature, and I remember being in my third year at uni, and I was sort of looking around and I was thinking, oh god, what am I going to do after uni? Because I loved English, but it was lots of reading and writing about books, and I thought, oh, this isn't really going to help me get a job really. And you do English as well. And so I kind of thought, what do I want to do? And I knew some people who were doing journalism at university, and it seemed great fun, really hands-on, really sort of practical, and I thought, oh, I could do that. And I'd always liked sort of writing and meeting people and stories and stuff, so I thought, oh, it'll be quite a good career for me, like maybe I'm made for journalism. So I stayed and did a year as Masters in Broadcast Journalism, which I really enjoyed, but it was kind of when the recession hit, so loads of radio stations and newspapers were making loads of redundancies because advertisers were pulling out, and so it wasn't really a great time for journalism. And I looked around me, and although I enjoyed it, everyone around me was like really hungry for a career in journalism, and I thought, well, I like it, but I don't like it as much as them. So I wasn't really sure what to do, and then looking for jobs, first job came up in Manchester as an online journalist, and it was an online journalism job, but it was kind of a bit of a bridging gap between online journalism and online marketing as well. So we learned about sort of SEO, search engine optimization, and writing news stories for all sorts of different businesses. So we did that for a year, wrote probably thousands and thousands of articles, but it was very fast paced, and like I was sort of burning out a little bit with it, and I thought, well, what else do I want to do? And a job came up in a small public relations agency. Didn't really know what PR was, but I thought, oh, I'll give it a go, and that's how my PR career started. Turned out I really liked it, and I was good at it as well. It was creative, but it was also quite strategic, lots of planning, got to meet people, still doing a lot of work with the media as well, and I just really enjoyed it. So I worked in a couple of PR agencies, and then about 4.5 years, well, probably 5 years ago, I became pregnant, first baby. And then when I had my first baby, I thought, I'm not sure I'll be able to cope with PR agency as I had been before, because it's very like long hours, quite high pressure, like great fun, but I just wanted a bit more of a work-life balance, so I went freelance, and I absolutely loved going freelance. So I was freelance for about 4 years, and then recently I've kind of developed that into my new business, Unhooked Communications.
So what does Unhooked Communications do?
So we are PR specialists, but we kind of offer the whole marketing mix really, because when you look at the marketing mix, there's loads of different tools and tactics you can use, and PR merges with so many of these days. So what we do is we take a really strategic approach. So rather than say you need to do media relations or you need to do social media or digital marketing, we start by getting to know the business, like what they're trying to achieve, who their customers are, what their values are, what's happening in the wider market as well, and by getting to know as much as we can about them and what their end goals are, then we develop like a creative marketing campaign which will use different elements to try and help them achieve their goals.
That's awesome. So you've already touched on it a little bit, but you obviously chose to go it alone and freelance, and then eventually start your own company. And what was the real turning point from that? I guess, it was your son and the necessity for more work-life balance, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. And going freelance was something that I had thought of before, but you kind of think, oh well, how do you even make the leap from being in full-time employment to being self-employed? Because obviously with employment, you get regular salary getting paid into your bank account, you have holidays, sick leave, you have all these things, and you sort of think, well, how do you make that leap? And you think, well, you need money, because you can't just quit your job and then have nothing coming in, because we've all got bills to pay. And so I'd always sort of thought, well, what do? Do you either start working while, like, with your own clients and your own freelance work while you're in employment, which a lot of businesses will have terms in your contracts to not let you do that.
Yeah, especially in such a relationship-focused industry.
So that could be an option. And also, not only is it probably not allowed in your contract a lot of the time, if you're working in a full-time job, you don't really have the energy to do anything outside, especially if it's quite full on.
And if you have
kids as well, And then so the other option is to sort of try and save up some money so you've got a bit of a buffer, which is kind of what I ended up doing, because I'd been saving money so that I could have some time off from maternity leave to supplement the statutory maternity pay that I was getting. And then the first freelance opportunity came along before we'd sort of like ran out of that money, so it was kind of like a nice transition actually. And I sort of thought, well, if I could start by doing maybe like just a couple of days a month and then build it up, but actually it really quickly built up, and really quickly I was sort of doing 3 days a week, which is kind of what at first I wanted to do. And more and more opportunities came up, and so it was just, it was really positive.
So that's really great, and it sounds like it's been like a big journey for you to get to this point. I know there'll be people listening this at any and all of these stages, and I think whether you are just like fresh out of uni getting your first grad job, or you want to start a business, or you want to progress in your career, there's a lot of, especially as women, confidence issues and mindset issues that come up. And what would you say some of the biggest mindset struggles you've had throughout this whole process, and how do you actively overcome them?
So I think for me, being a sort of a new mum has been sort of a challenge with working and being a mum at the same time, because I started off with my sort of self-employed career as a way to be able to work and use my skills and experience in a way that would fit around my family life. But that's now sort of developed because I've started my own business and I'm doing a lot more projects and I'm looking to grow, and it's all really exciting. I absolutely love it all, it's brilliant, but at the same time I sort of need to get the balance right and remember that I'm self-employed because I want the work-life balance, rather than because I think when you're doing it for yourself and it's all very exciting and you see all these brilliant opportunities and you just want to do everything at the same time, there are still only so many hours in the day. And also when you've got the young family as well, so like for example my kids aren't in nursery on a Friday, so Fridays are supposed to be like our days, but like bit by bit, like you think, oh, we'll just quickly send this email, and before you know it half the day is gone and the poor kids are like, can we go out and play? You're like, in a minute.
Trying to entertain themselves.
And so I think mindset is sort of being stricter with work-life balance and having time off from work. And it is difficult because when you sort of think, because I love writing and like pulling together little photos and little videos and things, which is good for my blog and for my own content marketing. So if there's anything on TV in the evening, you think, oh, well, I'll just do this, and I think sometimes that's fine, but you do need to have a break away from your laptop and just do something completely unwork related. I think as well, something that's been really important is finding like-minded people and your support network. When I went freelance and self-employed to start with, although for some of the work that I was doing I was going into an office, which was great because then you're surrounded by people and you get to work as a team and bounce ideas off people, a lot of the work that I was doing was just by myself at home. And when you go self-employed and when you chat to a few people, obviously a lot of people say, oh, financial worries are a big thing because you don't get paid regularly, you might have to chase late payments and all of that, so I was prepared for that side of it, but nobody had mentioned to me about actually it can be quite lonely and isolating, and that was the hardest part for me, I think, because I'm quite a sociable person and I'm one of these people who I get like energised when I've been with people, and yes, I need time on my own to do some work quietly sometimes, but I just love being by people, and I found really soon that spending days on my own at home working while my little one was at nursery started to send me a little bit of doolally, and sort of like you don't speak to anyone, and then I'd go pick up my
postman.
like you're like, hello, be my friend, and they're like, I'm just dropping off this Amazon parcel, what, something weird, and then you'd go pick up your kid from nursery and you'd be like, oh hi, and you realise that's the first, and like your voice is still croaky from because you've not spoken to anyone all day, and it wasn't healthy, and I just, even though I had lots of work to do, I soon lost my sort of buzz about work and my enthusiasm, and I just found I wasn't being productive, and so and it took me a few months to realise what was going on and why I was feeling like that, but it made me realise that actually, sorry, the light's going on, made me realise that I needed to make sure that I had a meeting every day, or a Skype call, or something. I needed some sort of human interaction each day to keep me sane, and also to keep me focused and keep me productive. So that's really important, I think. And when you speak to other self-employed people, even people who they love to work by themselves, hate other people, like you still need human interaction, so make sure you integrate that into your working life. Yeah,
that is so true. And I'm a massive introvert, and I get to a stage where I'm like starved of human interaction during the week. But it's funny that you say you have to have something every day, because that would be like my idea of hell.
Oh really?
I have to have a day fully on my own at least once a week, because that's when I get like the most work done. I am knackered and feel like really bored at the end of the day, but if I had, because I'm an introvert, I have to like not psych myself up, but I guess in a way I have to like be cat like to the outside world, rather than just be like on my desk.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I need to sort of, again, it's another mindset thing, so like knowing I can't have too much stuff on, because I love sort of going out and meeting people and working on new business ideas and new projects and everything, but then like you say, you do need a day every day, like to just to sit down, rather than sort of doing bits here and there, because a lot of the work that I do as well is a lot of writing, which needs sort of headspace and quiet time, and I work best when I'm writing like first thing in the morning as well, before I get too tired, so I need to plan my day around that as well, so that I can work from home, get a load of writing done, and then maybe then go around and do my meetings or take a break or something.
That's really good advice. And I think you learn about yourself when you're self-employed, don't you? You learn like how you work best. There's little things, and you do have the freedom to structure your day around that.
And I think that's one thing to remember when you're self-employed as well, because one thing I've noticed since working by myself is how unproductive the traditional workplace is, because there's this expectation that you need to be at your desk 9 to 5 or 8 till 6.
Working through your lunch break. But you realise how much of the working day is wasted with kind of meetings, which could have been an email, or meetings that... Or a 5-minute phone call.
Yeah, a 5-minute phone call, which ends up being like half a day. And you know what it's like as well, like if you've worked in an office job and it gets to sort of maybe like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're done. Like your brain has switched off, you can't do anything else, but you're just there kind of like trying to look like you're busy and doing stuff, and it's not that you're not productive the rest of the time, and you do the work when it needs to get done, but you don't have anything left to give at that sort of time. But actually it would be so much more beneficial for your own health and well-being, as well as for the business, to be able to just leave the work for the day, go to the gym, go for a walk, go do your food shopping, go home, clean the house and do some of your chore, and then you'll be refreshed and raring to go again the next day. So when you are self-employed, you've got that freedom and flexibility to do that. So I think it's really important, like you say, to tune into what sort of rhythm you work best in. Like, do you work best first thing in the morning or later on in the afternoon? What sort of jobs do you do best at what time? And also kind of planning breaks as well. So for example, I sometimes do events for clients, and I had an event on a Sunday recently, and the day after I was absolutely shattered. I was so exhausted, like it'd been a lot of work leading up to the event. The event itself was like physically and mentally draining, like I was sort of like hammering big pegs into the ground and carrying heavy things. It's just like, it was a full-on day. But the next day I had loads of work to do, and so it started off fine. Then by the afternoon I couldn't do anything else, and I should have given myself the afternoon off, but because I had so much work to do, I was just like, no, I feel really guilty for doing, like, sit at my computer trying to do work. I didn't do anything of any value, and I just ended up making myself more stressed. But in hindsight, looking back at that now, I should have realised that I would have felt like that the day after such an event, and I should have given myself the time off to take a break, do something else, and then I would have been back to my Claire working mode the next day.
Yeah, you do learn stuff like that, don't you? And it's knowing how you work best, and then it's like actively putting that into your schedule rather than just slotting into this schedule that you feel like you have to do, whether that be you feel like you have to work all the time. Like, I know a lot of self-employed people, myself included, feel like you have to work Monday to Friday, like during the day, because that's just like drilled into us.
But you don't.
Mindset, but you don't.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you have to. Obviously, you need to be available at some points during like more typical working hours, because that's when the rest of the world is working. But you can work whenever, wherever, and I think you need to take advantage of that and not fall into the trap of ending up doing the 9 to 5 or longer all by yourself, because that's hard.
Yeah, totally. So jumping back then to the other stages I mentioned, because I know there'll be people listening to this, they might want to start their own business, or they might be interested in business, but they might not be there yet, or that might not be the right path for them. So let's go back to each stage of your career. So like fresh out of uni, getting your first grad job, in your first career, you know, trying to move up the ranks, switching industries, and then obviously starting your own business. Like, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice from each stage, what would it be? I'll remind you of the stages as you go.
So I think, I don't know, I think I might cheat and do like the same thing for all of them, if that's okay. Like, I think use every opportunity in your career as a learning and training exercise. I think, like, I was chatting to somebody recently about it he's recently gone self-employed as well, and he was saying how with his jobs out of uni, you get a job thinking, I've got a job now, I've got a job to get paid. But I think if you can think of it as you've got a job and you're getting paid, but you're also getting paid to learn and develop, and like just take all the opportunities that come your way, like learn from all the people around you, and also when you're in employment as well, you'll probably have like a training budget and time that you can take off from the job to do training. So really invest in yourself and like learn as much as you can, and not just stuff that you think you need to know about, because actually if you think you might want to start your own business at some point in the future, you'll need to know all sorts of stuff like finance, marketing, leadership, HR things, people management, like all these different things which, you know, when you're in a business you've got all these people that you can learn from, so just try and like get as involved as you can. So I think that's the main thing. And then even if you do go self-employed as well, or start your own business, still surround yourself by people that you can learn from, and still invest time and money into training and development, because it's really important, especially, I mean, depending on what industry you work in. With my industry, PR and marketing, changes so quickly. You have to constantly be keeping up to date with all the changes, because if you don't, you get set behind, and people and clients want to know that you're sort of keeping up with all the changes as well, because you should be advising them what to do. Yeah, you have to be like ahead of the curve, don't you? So with that, your industry is obviously very relationship driven and very people driven, so you're a professional networker, really. You know, like how to meet people, how to create those relationships, how to introduce people and all this kind of other stuff. What are your top tips for networking and getting in with the right people, whether it be like in your industry or new clients, or and you're obviously an extrovert as well, so I think you genuinely enjoy talking to people. I think the main tip is to, when you meet someone new, ask them lots of questions. Just try and find out as much as you can about them, and show a genuine interest as well. Like, don't be sort of asking them questions thinking like, oh, I'm a bit bored by the answer. Like, everyone's got a story to tell. You can learn something from everybody. And if you go into a room and you meet somebody for the first time, I think as well you need to remember that if you go into an event, everybody's there thinking like, oh, I don't know anyone. Even someone who is confident and is an extrovert, everyone's thinking like, oh, I hope someone talks to me. Like, we all want to be wanted and talked to. But if you spend time talking to somebody, asking them lots of questions and showing genuine interest, that other person will leave that conversation thinking you're the nicest person, and they'll think you're really interesting as well, even though you've not told them anything about yourself. And it just works. Like, ask other people questions, and even it's difficult because you need to get the balance. You need to let them know what it is you do, but if you show more of an interest in them and try and get them to talk more than you're talking, which isn't what we're doing now because I'm doing all the talking,
but that's what this podcast is about. And I'm doing what you're advising people to do.
Exactly. So yes, that's the main advice that I always say to anybody who always thinks like, I hate networking, because it is intimidating. And I remember when I first started working in PR as well, like, we were very much encouraged to get out and go to networking events, and we'd have to say which events we'd been to. But I always felt really intimidated because a lot of the events I was going to would be in certain sectors. So I do a lot of PR in like construction and architecture and building, that kind of area, which is a predominantly male environment. So I'd go and I'd be quite young and female, and I'd sort of be looking at them thinking, oh, like, I feel really out of place here, and is everyone looking at me thinking like, oh, who's this silly little girl who's here? And so it is really intimidating, but you just need to have the confidence and speak to people, ask them about themselves, show interest, and it will work wonders. And also remember to follow up with people afterwards as well. So maybe if you link in with someone, because a lot of people do have business cards these days, sometimes they don't, but you could probably find them on social media. If you make that link and just send them a little note, just say, hi, it's lovely to meet you, and that'll help you remember as well who they are, and it'll help them to remind you about yourself as well. But I think as well it's important to find your own networking groups and circles of people who like you can learn from and get inspiration from as well. So for example, I've started the Northern Creative Collective, which is a networking and support group for small businesses and freelancers, predominantly kind of in the marketing sector and creative industries as well in the north, and that's really useful because everyone's sort of at a similar stage of their journeys, and maybe people just starting out in their own business, and people have been doing it for a while, but everyone's very helpful and collaborative, and you can ask for advice and information. And I know other groups as well, like so We Blog North, for example, like that's a sort of similar thing we do there. And I think it's really important to find groups like that, because there are loads of people starting groups. People have realised there isn't a group for me or what I'm looking for, so people are starting their own. So if there isn't one in your local areas, well, maybe look to start one, because chances are if you're looking for a certain thing, somebody else is as well. So you find your like-minded people, find your tribe.